Okay, we're going to now start our second video, and we are going to focus on the recertification process and professionalism within this short presentation. If we revisit our daily objective for this August meeting, again, our goal is to familiarize you with the role and responsibilities of a Bedford County teacher as we look at goal writing, which we'll look at next. We've already looked at the available resources on the DOE page, on Bedford County's page. We've talked about how to make sure that you can access the quick links on Bedford's page so that you can enter an absence, you can see a copy of your pay stub, that sort of thing. And again, we're going to look at recertification and professionalism at this time. Again, we'll have that measurable component because you will be asked to submit several assignments within the Google Classroom after watching these videos. Your attendance is monitored at every new hire meeting throughout the year, and your recertification points at the end of the year will be based on your attendance, and you will earn your attendance for this meeting by completing those assignments within the Google Classroom. So recertification. First of all, I want to encourage you to look at the Virginia Department of Education website. Here is the link so that you can access the manual. And if you click on that and go to the Department of Ed's website, you can see on the right side, how do I find, and you can click on licensure. And you can see about how to apply for your initial license, that sort of thing. If you have a provisional license, you are already probably working with our Human Resources Department to determine what you need to do to transition from a provisional license to a full Virginia license. But right now we're going to assume that you have a Virginia license. And here is the manual that you would want to access. And when you click on that link, it'll take you to a manual that talks about how you earn your points for recertification. If you have a license that was issued before July 1st of 2018, it was a 5-year license. And this manual that is currently published is geared towards those 5-year renewable license. And those licenses require that you earn 180 points within a 5-year period. And if you click on the manual, you can see that there are several different ways that you can earn those points. And you can see you could take a college class, you can attend conferences, you could develop curriculum. For example, I've brought in teachers over the last couple of summers to work on pacing guides and adding additional resources to our pacing guides. You could publish an article, publish a book. Mentors, those of you who are 0 years of experience and have an assigned mentor, mentors earn recertification points. If you also ever had the opportunity to work with student teacher or student intern from a local college, you earn recertification points that way. You could work on an educational project, and you could attend lots of different professional development activities, which is the meetings that we have through the new hire program. You will earn points under option 8. And so if you look through the manual, each of the options are explained in detail. I'm not going to go through all of that, but it tells you what you need to do and also how many points you need for each option. So college credit, you could earn all of your points by taking college classes. For example, for a professional conference, you can only max out 45 points. So you can't earn all 180 points by attending a professional conference. So hopefully you understand how that works. If you got your license after July 1st, then your license is good for 10 years. Legislation was just passed this spring that as of July 1st, all licenses in Virginia that are issued are going to be good for 10 years. And so if you currently have a 5-year license, you will renew under the 5-year requirements that we just looked at, earning your 180 points. And then the next time you renew after July 1st, you would be issued a 10-year license. For example, I renewed 2 summers ago, and so when my license expires in 3 more years, because I had a 5-year license, I will renew my license under the 10-year cycle. So I would renew by getting my 180 points because I have a current 5-year license, and then once I have a new license issued, it would be good for 10 years. Right now, the state has not put in print how many points, but they have discussed verbally that in 10 years you would have to earn 360 points. But if there are any changes to that point total, I will be sure to let you know. But regardless of how many points you need and how long your current license is good for, you need to be keeping up and tracking your recertification points. For example, by the end of the year from attending these meetings, you will have earned approximately 20 to 25 points. And so you would want to make sure that you have some sort of system for keeping a copy of the certificates that are issued to you if you attend any conferences or workshops and they issue you a certificate. If you take any college classes, you want to keep a record of that so that way when it comes time for renewal, you have it. Every year, our office is bombarded in the spring when people are trying to renew and are saying, hey, I attended a workshop that you held 4 years ago, but I've lost my certificate. Can you give me another one? And we're happy to do that as best we can, to try to reissue things and give you an extra copy. But I can't guarantee you in 4 years from now, and if you want a copy of your new hire points, that I'm still going to be in this position or I'm still going to be working for Bedford County. Who knows? And so you don't want it to be dependent on somebody else for your license renewal. So I cannot encourage you enough to keep track of that yourself, of how many points you need. Bedford County used to issue everybody a yellow folder that you could kind of put your certificates in. I have those yellow folders and I'll bring them to our September meeting. If that system would work for you, you're welcome to have that. It doesn't matter what system you use, just please make sure that you use a system that works for you so that you can keep track of those points. And again, don't forget about the tuition assistance program, the TAP program that we talked about in the first video, that if you are taking a college class, you can fill out a TAP form from the instruction page on the Bedford County website and apply for up to $1,000 a year to help cover the costs of your college classes. The other key thing we want to talk about in this short video is professionalism. And if you haven't done so, I really recommend that you get on the Bedford County Public Schools website and locate the Bedford County Public Schools Teacher Performance Evaluation Handbook. And I know you're going to have an abundant amount of free time to review this. But I really do think it would be well worth your time. I know it's hard to carve out time to look at things like this when you're trying to get lesson plans ready and make parent contacts, all of those things, but I really do think this would benefit you. And so you can see the components of professionalism in Bedford County. We feel that professionalism means that you are committed to professional ethics, that you communicate effectively, whether that's to your peers, to your administrators, to your students, to your parents, and that you take responsibility for your professional growth. And so that means when you attend these meetings that you're fully present. You don't come to the meeting in September with a stack of papers and think, well, I sit to this meeting, I'm going to grade papers. You don't go to a faculty meeting or department meeting, a grade level meeting, and try to multitask. That you are fully present and are actively listening and actively engaged. Obviously, you can see it involves goal setting, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. It talks about that collaborative environment. Another key component is building relationships. We expect in Bedford County, and this is linked obviously to those bus tours that we took on Friday, August 3rd, that our goal is that you will build relationships with the families of Bedford County, and that you recognize students may not be raised in a traditional two-parent home, but that you get to know the family. What is that family structure? And that you're making a concerted effort to keep that family involved in the student's education. Another part of professionalism that sometimes trips up teachers in Bedford County is not failing to follow the chain of command. Please make sure that your principal is always in the loop before you reach out to someone outside of your building or you request resources. So maybe you're a social studies teacher and think, oh, I want to contact Sherry Weiss to see if we can secure a certain resource. I want you to contact me or any of your content supervisors, but your administrators want to be kept in the loop. The worst thing that you can do is catch them by surprise or catch them off guard. So please just make sure that you're always kind of running things by them so that they are aware of what you're going through, what you're working on, what your goals are. I also want to remind you that Bedford County is a small town feel, and so you are not just a teacher at Liberty High School or a teacher at Huddleston from 8 to 3 or 8 to 4. That you represent Bedford County when you're at the gym, when you're at the grocery store, when you're shopping, when you're at a restaurant, when you're at a sporting event. Remember when you're kind of off the clock and you're at a rec football game and you are cussing out the referee for what you think is a bad call. People could be getting out their cell phones and taking a video of that and sharing it on Facebook. So just always be aware that you represent Bedford County at all times. And so just be aware of that. We expect you to exude professionalism at all times in your actions and your interactions in our community. Also, again, I don't want to harp on this too much because this is the age of social media, and I think you're all aware of that. But we've all heard horror stories of educators who lose their job because of missteps with social media. So just remember, people are always watching. And so change your settings to private. Don't friend students. Don't friend parents of students. Just make sure that you keep that level of professionalism. We are not friends with our students. We're not friends with the parents of our students. We have that professional relationship. So again, just make sure that you think about things before you post them. Think about how they're going to be perceived by the community, because if you post it, just assume that it's going to be seen by everyone. We expect that you're an ambassador of Bedford County. You are our brand. With every decision you make, opinions you give, things that you represent your classroom, your colleagues, your school, your community, and the school division. And so, again, we just encourage you to think about that you don't just check out at the end of the day. You are always a teacher. You're always an educator. We also want you to think about the components of professionalism that we sometimes don't spend as much time. How are you going to manage your time? How are you going to prioritize? How are you going to connect to and collaborate with your peers? Make sure that you are professional and courteous to the secretarial staff, to the technology staff, to the custodians, to the cafeteria workers. We want to make sure that we are professional at all times. Don't demand that the technology team comes in and fixes your LCD projector on a whim. We have a system, we have protocols for how they track what the concerns are and how those are tracked and how they're taken care of. So again, you've got to be flexible. And lastly, and probably most importantly, is you're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel like at times you're just treading water and trying to stay afloat. Make sure that you protect you and your family. Protect that time. You've got to take time for you and your family in order to be successful. One last key component of professionalism is the nonverbals. Remember, professionalism and communication is not always what we're saying. It's our appearance. It's how close we get to students. Remember, what is that professional distance, and what types of touches are appropriate. When kids are providing an answer, are you scowling without even thinking of it? Are you pointing your finger at kids when you're talking to them? So just be aware of the nonverbals as well as the verbals. If you want to be taken seriously, think about your first impression. Make it count. Again, we kind of mentioned this already, that you are listening intently, you're engaged at all times, you're reading the documents that you sign. Think about those IEPs that you're going to sign and say that you're aware of all those accommodations. Don't sign anything if you haven't read it, if you haven't processed it. If you have questions, talk to the students' case managers. Come with a plan. If you have a formal mentor, use your mentor. If you don't have a formal mentor, use an informal buddy who can help you familiarize yourself with the expectations of Bedford County Public Schools. Dress code policy is something I want to just touch on briefly. It's on page 20 in the Employee Handbook, which is on the Bedford County Public Schools homepage under Human Resources. Here you can see what the appropriate attire is. Obviously, there are exceptions if you are working in the gym or you're working in the shop. You have to make sure that you dress so that way you're appropriate for the environment. But this is the acceptable dress code policy. Inappropriate shorts, miniskirts, thin straps, tight fitting clothing. So just make sure that you are aware of those expectations and adhere to the dress code. If you have any questions, talk to your administrator. And again, you can refer to page 20 in the handbook. You only get one first impression with students, with parents, with your colleagues. Make sure that it's a positive one and that people aren't judging you based on your appearance. Have them judge you based on your work ethic, your performance, not how you look. So again, that's just kind of a quick key things about professionalism and ensuring that that first impression is a positive one. So our next video, we will be focusing on your annual goals.